Good evening, and welcome to the March meeting of the Water-Wastewater Commission. I'll now call the meeting to order. Let's see. Please be advised that FATV is conducting an audio and video recording of this meeting for public broadcast. There's nobody in the audience, so we don't need to ask them to identify themselves. At this time, I'll ask that all electronic devices be placed in silent mode. And there's no one here to speak. So we'll begin the meeting. The minutes were sent out. Has everybody had a chance to review them? Mm-hmm. Any changes or additions? Nope. If not, I'll accept the motion to approve.
I'll make the motion to approve.
Second? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Motion carries. John DeLine, Water Division.
Yep.
Ready to give us a report?
Good evening, everyone. Mark and I we sent out our budgets. We're kind of going to go over them tonight, and we won't expect a vote for this meeting. I'll give you till the next meeting to really digest it all and review it. And I'm sure Mark will talk about his, but there may be some tweaks depending on some pricing that comes in for chemical bids and things like that for the next fiscal year. There may be a couple other adjustments too, but for the most part, mine is pretty close besides those type of things. As far as the first page is revenue, the only significant change is that we are going to have another rate increase as of June 1st. It'll be reflected in the July bills. It'll be a 12% increase. Last year it was 35%. So the water rate itself will go from $5.67 cubic feet, $5.67 per 100 cubic feet to $6.35 per 100 cubic feet. So the minimum monthly charges will also be reflected in that 12% increase. For the revenue side, for water rates, I didn't put in a 12% increase because it tends to be a little bit less than that. We want to be conservative, so I figured on a 10% increase in revenues, despite the 12% increase in rates themselves. So just to make sure that we do not overestimate what we expect for revenues. So, like I said, there's a lot here. They have a chance to talk about it some more at the next meeting. But if there's any questions that you want to ask at any of these, just let me know. Next page is personnel. And I do have an overtime transfer I'll talk about a little later. But for the most part, everything is, what we expect. For personnel, there's no additional people being hired. The rates are, of course, higher due to the last contract we negotiated, which has been successful in actually attracting and retaining employees as well as employees having the incentive to move up. We just had a couple more people get higher level distribution operator licenses today, so everybody's doing real well with that to move up. So it is working out as we had planned and hoped. So we are looking at increasing overtime from 170 to 180. I may have to tweak that a little bit higher because this year we seem to be running over quite a bit. Like I said, I'll talk about that later. But otherwise, it's fairly consistent. Just the contractual increases, step increases, cost of living increases, whatever was negotiated in the union contracts is taken into consideration for each of the positions. The third page pretty much covers like all general expenses, from piping to the taxes we pay in other towns.
John,
go ahead.
You want to take questions as we go through this?
Yeah, that's fine.
Want to do a page by page or at the end?
No, we can do a page by page while we're there.
Okay.
Yep.
Did you have a question?
Yeah, if you don't mind, please. What staffing level are you at? Are you short on anybody?
No, it's the first time we've been 100% in I don't know how many years, so.
Okay. If we're at a good staffing level, which we haven't been for a long time, the overtime seems to keep going up quite a bit, right?
Yep.
Actually, since 2020, it's almost doubled.
Yep. Part of that is due to the increases in the pays, but no matter what, we have weekend shifts that people have to work for treatment to cover the plant. So we don't have any type of shifts or anything like that. So they're on an alternating schedule where they do work the weekends. But because we have those weekend shifts, that is overtime, and Sundays double time. So which it always has been.
And emergencies, obviously.
Yeah.
I'm just kind of curious because obviously pays didn't, we have pay increases every year, right?
Yep.
And pay increases haven't doubled since 2020, and our staffing levels have gone up, but the overtime.
Yeah, part of it was this year and portion of last year was that we went from a 3-hour minimum for a call-in to a 4-hour minimum. So that adds up a bit. We pay double time on every holiday, just trying to reflect what, is the standards in the industry right now, so that we can attract people. So that adds up to more overtime. So yeah, back in 2020, it was 107,000. We're going to be at 108,000 in 5 years. So, but yeah, that is an increase. Probably in 2020, it was one of the last times we had pretty close to full staff, and you can see that the pay at that time was for the distribution. The labor line item was 467, we're at 774, so that's a considerable increase as well. So,
Okay.
But,
And not, being critical with my questions, it's knowledge, right?
Yep,
Trying to
absolutely.
understand
No, yeah, no, we do everything we can to reel in overtime. This year we've had, I'm hoping, I'll talk about it in a little bit, but we've had a lot of additional time spent because of the SCADA system. They're working on that and programming and stuff. Our operators are working later, and we've had some call-ins because of glitches and stuff like that, which we knew was going to happen. And we also had a lot of water main breaks on Sundays or at the night instead of during the week when it would be much more convenient. So, but so that's added up there. So, and I can talk a little more about that. But
I have some questions too. Can we go back to income? Because I know we're going page by page. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
I know LIWAP, the water funding through Make an Opportunity Account, we provided you with people who are in arrearages
Yep.
funds. Has that impacted, at least this current fiscal year's budget? Have you seen a difference in people's bills since we've paid, significant amounts of money towards them to help them catch up?
It's hard to say because I think actually some people are there's others that aren't paying as well. It gets all with what goes to lien and things like that. It's just hard to decipher that type of thing. So has it helped? I'm sure it has. I won't know until the fiscal year is over, and then we see how much was in arrears and went to lien at the end of the year, and what falls into each of those basically those line items. So
Okay.
Yeah.
And going off of the question around staffing, I know you do not schedule staff within a 40-hour work week to work weekends? They have to get paid overtime on weekends?
yeah.
So there's no way to bring an employee on to work Tuesday through Saturday, and then an employee that works Sunday through Thursday?
Yeah, we're just so minimally staffed. I mean, the plants only have 6 operators between the two of them, and we'd be adding another person would probably add another $80,000 at least to the pay. So even though we'd reduce it a bit, we would be replacing that overtime almost completely because that 180,000 basically runs half between distribution, breaks, and stuff like that, and treatment. So.
Well, I'm referring to if you had a full-time equivalent.
Yep. No, I know.
You have 6 FTEs at your site.
Yeah.
And you divide those 6 FTEs amongst, working the swing shift almost. One person's working Saturday to Thursday, the other person's working, a Friday to Thursday as well, and alternating them, but you're still using the same people.
Yeah.
But you're just covering longer.
We don't have enough during the week for them to do things safely in the plants because of people out and stuff. So we have 6 operators, 3 between each plants there. A lot of them are out on runs out to the stations or working in stations and things like that. So a lot of times there's only 2 people in the plant. If we started doing that, then we'd down to 1 person working alone in the plants at times, which isn't really a safe thing to do.
Moving forward, is there a way that you could hire those positions? I've been in similar positions where I've hired Monday through Friday staff, and I really wish I hired them Tuesday through Saturday because now I got to pay, for weekend staff to come in. But you can correct that if you do change your staffing model, or moving forward you hire only people that can work a weekend shift, so you don't got to pay the overtime on the weekend. They're just a Tuesday through Saturday staff person.
Yeah, but we still, I mean, we got to operate every day of the week. That's the only thing, you know?
Right.
It's got to be somebody in the plants every single day. So we had looked at it. I mean, we'd really have to hire another operator too, which would be adding, you know, $80,000, which is about half of the overtime to do that, so.
Right, but I mean, don't take this as a criticism, but you would significantly impact your overtime budget in a positive direction. Because it's definitely more cost effective to hire an FTE than it is to pay 3 FTEs to work 40 hours a week in overtime.
No, I'd have to disagree, because 180,000, if we're at that right now, we'd still have overtime even if we hired one more person, no matter what in treatment. I mean, that one person, we've got 2 plants to operate on the weekends. So even if we hired one more person at, you know, 80,000, 90,000, because that's what they're making, that would replace the overtime, but I still have another half that only, to reduce the overtime by 45,000, you know, half of it, take the 180 divided by half to 90,000 divided by 45, to reduce it by 45, I'd have to pay $80,000 or $90,000, so it'd end up costing more.
But if you do that and in conjunction with moving people's schedules around to fill the gaps in during their current 40-hour work, you know, I don't see your schedule, so
Yeah.
you know, hypothetically talking here, I think it's, you might upset people.
Yeah.
Because they're Monday through Friday staff, but you would significantly impact your budget because you're using the same full-time equivalents to make the same, to equal out your weekends. And then you're adding a staff person.
Yeah.
So,
I know
we
we
talk about this every year. I think I mentioned the same thing, the same style last year when we had this discussion.
I mean, we are literally minimally staffed. I mean, we really should have more people. We're not accomplishing what we need to do in the plants when there's only 6 people. You know, because mostly, you know, during the week, there's at least one out, you know, during any given week, so we're down to 5, you know. You really need 2 in the plants all the time when they're doing, you know, maintenance and things and moving things, rebuilding pumps and stuff like that. So, you know, we'd have to hire 2 more people, but then 2 more people, the salary would be $80,000 to $90,000, then another $30,000 in benefits on top of that, you know, between, you know, vacation and health benefits and everything else. So, I mean, we could do it, but we'd have to hire, you know, probably 2 more people to get rid of the overtime. And even then, a lot of our overtime, you know, is not just the weekends, it's the call-ins in the night. You know, there's a blip here, whatever. So, you know, it's hard to, like, get rid of just that, because then they're still going to be coming in at night, or as soon as 2:30 at 3 o'clock rolls around. If we get a call out at 3 o'clock, you know, basically, or after, it's going to be a 4-hour call-in. So a lot of our overtime is just call-ins. So.
Yeah. No, John, I completely understand.
Yeah.
You know.
I mean, I would honestly love to have 2 more people in the plants, because we don't. I mean, we haven't done the tour, but the size of the facilities is just, and you know, when you have, you know, multiple stations that need to be maintained, painted, you know, things cleaned, pumps rebuilt. I mean, there's a lot of work in the plants themselves, just dealing with all the analyzers. You know, they all got to be cleaned all the time, otherwise they'll get false readings, and it's just a constant maintenance with that. And you know, they're dealing with dangerous chemicals, so they really can't. You know, even cleaning, they use acids to clean some of the tubing and some of the analyzers. So I mean, you know, it's not something they can do on their own. So, and on the weekend we have 1 person work 8 hours, which is according to DEP. We have 1 person work at regional 8 hours Saturday and Sunday. In Falula, we have 1 person work 4 hours each day. DEP let us get down to 4 hours then. So, you know, even then they're by themselves or whatever, but at least they can communicate to each other too. If they need help with something, they're not supposed to do anything that's hazardous by themselves. If they have to change a chlorine cylinder, then one will have to go over to the other plant and assist with that. We try not to do that on the weekends, but it's needless to say that happens. But I mean, we're fully staffed, but we're minimally staffed. I mean, I'd love to have more. I mean, you know,
That's the key.
Gardner has more in their distribution crews than we do in Fitchburg, and they're a smaller city, you know. I mean, they have, you know, I don't want to say more, they have about the same, about 9, and we have 9 in our distribution crews. So, I mean, we're basically at the very minimum. So, love to add more staff, but I mean, the word we got today is that the health insurance and the city's, all the benefits in that is just, everybody's insurance is going up, whether it's health, auto, the city's insurance. So even though we're enterprise funded, we still have to contribute to that too. So there's an expense with each employee. So I'm not sure if the council or, would have the appetite for that. And I know we would save some money by having, a couple on an alternate schedule, but we still have the call-in. So, but, we can look at it. I mean, so.
Yeah. Do we run multiple shifts?
No, we just have 7 to 3 shifts,
Okay.
Every day. So. Fortunately, our plants are automated, and we're even getting more automated with the new SCADA system. They're actually able to bring home a tablet. They can't do anything from the tablet because of cybersecurity. It's read-only, but at least they can monitor it there and see if there's an alarm that needs to, be addressed immediately or, can wait. So we're hoping that will help us on the call-ins as well. So,
You'd pay them though the work.
what's up?
You'd have to pay them if they were.
Not if they're checking something on there. If they get a call in, we might, give them something. But a lot of times, just they're paid to be on call. There's a weekend. It's $300. Is it?
I think 350, yeah.
Yeah, $350 and
It went up 100 with the past contract.
so with that comes that, they need to be around and, sometimes check on things. So, even though we're not paying an hourly wage for when they look at something, but if they have a call in, then they have to go in. So, and sometimes the call-ins are only an hour, but they get paid 4 hours. So, we ask a little bit of a give on that.
Is that a union thing?
Yeah. Yeah, we were at 3 hours for a call-in, but pretty much every DPW or water department has always been 4 hours. So we've been at 3 hours for 3 years. So
What's the 350 that you mentioned?
So you get a $350 a week stipend for carrying the on-call pager for that week, in addition to the actual 4-hour minimums for the call-ins after hours. So it's an incentive to carry the pager, and then obviously it's a roll of the dice as to whether you'll get called in or not. So it's a way to compensate the guys to be willing to carry that pager. And we do that in Water Division, Wastewater Division, and Streets Division, and Parks Division. Cemetery, I think they've got a different system set up. They don't have a pager that they call.
and that amount is just for them are available. They have to, they can't be going off to northern Maine or New Hampshire or something.
Bermuda.
Yeah, you gotta
they need to be available.
You gotta stay local.
Not
You gotta
consuming
stay
any
available.
alcohol, or they need to
Stay
be
sober.
ready to respond within 20 minutes. 20 minutes, half an hour tops. They need to be able to get there. So because if there is a situation, clear well overflowing or a tank overflowing, they need to be there immediately. We've had plant shutdowns. Sometimes, those plants are all automated. If something goes out, goes slightly above what the DEP limits, just minutely, the plant shuts down, just shuts right down. So, they need to be there shortly and figure that out as quickly as possible. We can have some downtime with the plant, but not hours on end, while they get back there. So,
What if you get called in? It's a 4-hour minimum.
Yep.
What if you work 4.5 hours?
you'd get the 4.5 hours if you work over. So, yeah.
Okay. So it doesn't kick in another 4 hours?
No. And if they get a second call in within that 4-hour period, it's just a single 4 hours. So we've seen that.
Okay. And again, we're all just trying to.
Yeah, no,
understand some of the-
I'm glad. Those are good questions. I'm glad, I want you to understand how it works or whatever, so.
Sometimes it's hard to compare
Yeah,
private sector, non-private sector with public sector.
Yeah.
because of all the different variances and complexities.
Yeah.
So I appreciate it, John.
yeah. I'd love to get the regional down to 4 hours, it's automated. They can get all their tests done, but DEP hasn't, really it's okay with Falula, but not so much with regional. So the thing is, I'm actually going to make a pitch for it now because we have, once the SCADA system is fully done in the next, few weeks, we have the ability to monitor it remotely. So why wouldn't we not be able to reduce that coverage? They can get all their testing done. And then I don't like an operator working by themselves completely for you know, even half the day, and you just never know. They might slip or fall, especially in the winter months, you know, maybe go out and check something and next, thinking, he's been laying out there for, 6 or 8 hours. So, so it'd be nice to have them both work 4 hours and both say, yeah, see ya, going home, from each place, So hopefully with the new skater, we can reduce that now to help to reduce the overtime, so.
And those things that we're all talking about, so the stipend for carrying the pager, the 4-hour minimum, time and a half overtime, double time on Sundays and holidays, that's all wrapped into the union contracts that we negotiate every 3 years. And the current contract will expire June 30th of 2025.
And who's included in the union contracts?
Out of this list,
Yeah.
It'd be all distribution and treatment personnel, and then,
Yeah.
There's some in the FAMAS union.
So is it commissioner all the way down the list?
Yeah, I'm not in anything, so.
so the commissioner's not in the union. We can go one by one.
SOL.
So
Or maybe just which ones aren't?
the deputy commissioner is not in a union.
Yeah.
Everything else is in one union or another.
Okay. That's
Yeah.
easy.
But there's 3 different unions that they're split between. So the treatment plant operators and the distribution system operators all fall under the local 170 union, and that's the contract that stipulates the $350 a week for carrying the pager, the 4-hour minimums, time and a half, double time on holidays and Sundays, et cetera.
I can run through them if you want. I mean, it's simple enough to do, so.
Nope, not necessary. One more question?
Sure.
Clothing allowance?
Yep.
What is,
We don't
what
have
is that for?
We don't have uniforms. Some places either have uniforms or clothing allowance. It's for them to buy their boots and, their clothing that basically gets destroyed when they're working here, so to replace that, so.
So, shoes, pants?
Boots, pants, a lot of them buy the shirts, the safety shirts. We do buy them, provide them with vests, but otherwise they buy all their own clothes, so. Yeah.
That's part of the contract also.
What's that?
That's part of the union contract as well.
Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty standard among DPWs and water, just because of the environment they work in. I mean, they go through a lot of clothes.
Yeah, they're
And
working.
the mud hole and
Working hard.
the black biofilm that's in the water mains, once that's on your clothes, it's never coming out.
Yeah, okay. Again,
most of the
just to
plants.
kind of understand.
Yeah, no,
'Cause
absolutely.
We've seen that escalate quite a bit, so.
Yeah. Yeah, it actually hadn't increased for quite a while, and with this past union contract, we did increase it, so.
So what's the per person stipend for that?
Oh, you had to ask, didn't you?
That's why we're here.
It's 12.
Is it 1,200?
1,200, it's
Yeah.
$100 a month.
Yeah.
Okay.
Thank you, Jennifer.
For the local 170 contract.
Yeah.
They're
Just 170.
famous, I think it's
8
600.
or 6, maybe 6.
6, I think.
Yeah, 6, you're right.
Not everybody in FAMAS gets it either. It's only the ones that, might be working in the
Steve.
field or something, Missy doesn't get it.
She wishes.
That's a pet peeve of hers.
We want the office personnel to look good.
One day she was all covered with ink from the copy or whatever. It was all over her. She's like, this is why I need a clothing allowance. Look at me. The thing just exploded on her. Yeah, anything else? Yeah, those are good questions. I'm glad we're going through this like this.
Why the so much for sick, vacation, personal day, buyback?
That's when somebody, people who don't use all their time are able to sell back their time and get paid for it only so many days, but also if somebody retires, they get some of that payout at the end up to 10,000.
I think it's 10. Yeah.
Yeah. So some years it's really significant depending on retirements. So,
You guys hiring? I mean, I might.
yeah.
Retire and get paid.
Clothing allowance, that's where I was sold.
So is that negotiated as well? Because you guys probably know that's been a pet peeve of mine every year. And again, you know, if it's negotiated, that's fine.
Oh, yeah.
Just coming from the private sector,
The six.
if I don't use my vacation at the end of the year, well,
Yeah,
it's
that's all.
gone. So good for everybody that's negotiated this, but it's just a
Yeah, no, it's
huge
all
cost
negotiated as part of the
to the city.
respective. There's nothing in here that isn't contractual. There's absolutely nothing.
Yeah.
So everything is contractual. We don't go above anything like that. We can't, so.
Go on to the third page now.
Yeah, this is general expenses. There's a page that relates just to the treatment plants. It's broken down that way, but this covers, like I said, you know, there's electricity for the plants and there's electricity for pump stations, and that separation is because of our agreement with Westminster, and they pay for a portion of the operation of the plant based on their flows. You know, from piping to the water meter parts, bill processing, it basically is a catch-all. It's general, but it's a catch-all for everything. And the only really significant change besides stuff that's had to be increased because things have gone up, taxes go up a little bit every year, of course, so that edges upwards. We don't go up as much as, because of what the land is, it doesn't go up as much, but electricity, you know, we seem to be, I've increased it. We're actually, I may have to bump that before we finalize the budget because it is a bit high this year. But the main difference is that it used to be that second line item, dam and watershed maintenance. It used to be just watershed maintenance. When we did the rate study, we know that we needed to spend some money on the dams and start doing some engineering so that we're eligible for grants. We can't just like, you know, if we have some money to contribute, but also get some of the engineering done, it may be eligible for more grants. And the water division is responsible for 16 dams.
Yeah, I think 16.
Yeah, so we've increased that. We've changed the description of it from dams and watershed maintenance to, because we did kind of do some of the dam work on there, and increase that so we can do some of the studies that we need, including investigations at like Lovell or Fool or something like that, those dams, which is what we're trying to do in the next fiscal year. So it doesn't even come close to what, as far as maintenance or work on dams. I mean, we got our Bickford Dam, the one dam, just that one dam, the repairs, they were talking about $5 million, you know, it just knocks you over. I mean, it's just amazing how much this stuff costs nowadays, especially when regarding a dam and, you know, what's required for something like that. So there are some grants out there. We've gotten a couple, not huge amounts for investigation, but the more work that we can do to set us up for future grants is what we'll be using those monies for in that line item. So otherwise, I don't think there was anything else significant in any of those items besides just, you know, normal increases due to inflation. Or any questions on any of those? If you see something later, you know, we'll get the next meeting after you've looked it over. So
How's the vehicle fleet holding up?
good. Yeah, we try to make sure that they're maintained. So we made it standard operating practice. Any new vehicle that we're buying, we're undercoating now, you know, to try to make sure, you know, our vehicles usually don't die because of mechanical, it's because of rust, you know. So I try to make sure that they're clean. And like I said, with every new vehicle now, we've been having them undercoated to make sure that the frames, you know, that's usually what goes, frames and the fenders and things like that. I mean, they're a lot better nowadays with the galvanizing and things like that and the paint, but we still want to make sure that, you know, we do as much as possible to protect, because that's what ends up going is the rust, not the engine necessarily, not, you know, the drivetrain and overall, but something related to the rust just gets too much to for it. So yeah, we still have a 1974 truck that we're finally auctioning off, so international, so we keep things for a long time. And we are getting rid of a couple others, but the frames went, you know, I mean, issues with the frames. just the rock got to them, so we're hoping with the new ones that, we can kind of mitigate that. We're told that if we undercoat them right from the get-go, and they spray in everything and all the, areas that you usually can't rinse off, they get all in there with, tubing and stuff, that'll help prolong their life, so. All right, fourth page. The first section is related to treatment, and like I said, we break that down because we bill Westminster based on their flows and based on the budget. There's a whole spreadsheet that has to be put together annually separate from this for Westminster's flows and their charges, so. And they don't just pay for the plant, they pay for, there's a percentage of my salary that goes into that spreadsheet calculation, there's a percentage of other people's salaries that go into it. The benefits that we pay all the employees is a portion of that goes into there. So it isn't just those line items either. Like I said, there's a pretty large spreadsheet, includes all budget items and calculations. And then when we go through the flows each year and figure out how much Westminster actually used out of the plant, that's plugged in, for the next year for what they pay us for the water that they take from there. So, and that's something we're going to be actually negotiating because we do need to do some work at the regional plan. We need to take that into consideration for the agreement we have with them. No significant changes there, just, increases due to inflation on chemicals. Repair and maintenance, the building's getting older. We did talk about the roof a little while back, but keeping up everything, so. Biggest line items are simply the water treatment chemicals and electricity, so.
So, question, we spent 600,000 on that turbine back in 20? Right?
Yeah.
So,
It wasn't just a turbine, it was a rehab of the whole building.
okay.
Yeah, the turbine itself was probably a couple $100,000 that the state actually paid for, which isn't reflected in there, so.
I mean, did we realize any electricity savings as a result of it? 'Cause
Yeah, we are getting savings. It's not, I mean, we knew it wasn't gonna be large, it's $10,000 to $15,000 a year, so, but the turbine was essentially free to us, so, and the rest of the money was spent on rehabbing that building. So it's kinda, hard to decipher exactly from those numbers, but if we hadn't, it would have been a lot longer payback, but the state wanted to, they were aware of the situation. We applied for the grant and received the grant, so that basically paid for that. And while we were doing that, we said, well, we're going to do over that whole PRV station. We were eliminating a lot of pipe and repipe stuff, eliminated some hazardous type piping that was no longer lead, just really cleaned it all up. It was a lot of work. Took the whole roof off the building. The concrete plank roofs all came off. All new ones went on, so it's actually in very good shape now, so. But yeah, it's probably, I don't know electricity costs are up, so maybe we get a little bit more, maybe 15,000, probably edging toward 15
Yeah.
a year.
I would
so.
say about 15.
Yeah.
From what we're getting from Narrows
Yeah.
credit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's been pretty much, we had some issues with a compressor there that runs one of the valves on it, but since that's been resolved, the thing's pretty much trouble-free, so not really much maintenance involved at all, so that's a plus. Anything else? The benefits, the fringe benefits of the city costs and reimbursement for our city department costs. We're told by the city auditor we can keep the status quo for this year, but I'm anticipating next year based on what we're hearing as far as increases in health insurance and city insurance and things like that. We'll probably see an increase next year, so.
Does that fund pension as well? Part of it?
Yeah, that's
Okay.
everything, yeah.
Okay.
Yep. And they have a spreadsheet that they provide to us when there is a change, just showing what the city costs are and how it's broken down by department and things like that, and how much, wastewater pays, how much we pay, and things like that. So, trying to I know it's all city money, but we try to look out for our department. We don't want to pay any more than we have to because we got other stuff we'd rather do with the money, you know, water mains and things like that, so. Next grouping is our loan payments, so I just got a new debt schedule last week, so I should have put that together, but I can probably get that out to you next week. I just need to combine a couple spreadsheets that the city treasurer, maybe I can get our business manager to put together. She's very good with the spreadsheets, but combine those so that they can see what our debt payments are, so. We've added some loans. Some loans are expiring, so, I mean, it's not a huge increase. You know, we're actually lower than we were in '21, so.
What is short-term interest?
You know, sometimes they have to have some, sometimes they don't, but I guess, you know, if they don't actually make they borrow, if we're doing smaller amounts before the end of the fiscal year, they'll borrow that money short-term, and then they'll bond it all in one big package, you know, once the project's done. So I think that's what it involves. So I just follow the treasurer's lead on that, and she tells us the best way to do that, so. And the last grouping is just capital expenditures. We do need to get a new six-wheel dump truck this coming year, so that's why it's up from previous years. That's going to take probably a good portion of that. So that truck's 20 years old, so it isn't like we buy them that often. So, but that rust is, again, you know, the cab floor is gone. We've repaired it, patched it. We put a new body on a few years ago. Our guys did, patched it all, and, you know, we were able to get another 5 years out of it because we couldn't even get trucks, you know, 3 or 4 years ago anyway. So we knew that we needed to hold on to that one regardless. But the unfortunate aspect of the trucks have gone up quite a bit in 4 or 5 years too. So, but we've gotten pretty good life out of it. We don't need a huge one, but we need one that's reliable. So. Actually, for our work, the smaller one's better. I mean, maybe for a haul material, a larger one might be better, which DPW has with. But to maneuver into a water main break to remove the soil and put that into the truck, it's best to have that size. And then water system improvements that we use for engineering, for water main designs. We do, you know, some, you know, if there's a major expenditure in one of the plants or something like that, that will be covered by that. Smaller water main projects, we've paid for those out of that. One over on Depot Street, we paid for out of that type of thing. If there's a short street where we need to do, you know, 200 feet at 2-inch or 4-inch, then that's covered by that line item. So, and anything we don't spend actually, you know, of course, goes back into the enterprise spend. We don't just spend to spend. So, I think that's it. And as far as, you know, one of the things that was brought up during the rate study was their concerns about our retained earnings. We actually had a bit more revenue come in last year than forecast because we did, you know, I try to, you know, be conservative with that. And we also, because we underspent, we actually went from a couple $100,000, we ended up putting like $700,000 back into retained earnings. So we're up to about $900,000 in retained earnings, you know, versus $200,000, expecting it to disappear this year. So, you know, this last year. So kind of proud of that we were able to do that, and also had, you know, the additional revenue come in that we were able to not spend every item. Just because there's a line item there, I mean, we go over on some, we go under on some, but the goal is to, you know, spend the minimum each to get the job done. You know, we want to do things right, correctly, and have the materials or what we need, but, you know, we try to do our best with, you know, we're not buying anything frivolous, you know, so.
That's promising.
Yeah. Yeah, no, it's a lot of money that went back in. I was really happy to get that, and that's been certified by the state, so that's a huge plus. So, you know, and if we find out that, you know, revenue continues to come up, instead of borrowing in a couple of years like wastewater did, we'll be able to use it for a project, you know, and then have those savings as far as interest rates, because, as you know, the borrowing we're doing now, we weren't able to get an SRF loan, so our rate's going to be a bit higher. So if that continues to be the case, then, you know, if we can cover that, some of us with our, you know, we don't want to, you know, exhaust the retained earnings completely, but, you know, we end up with a couple million and we need $1 million for a project versus borrowing, that would help, future budget, not having the interest costs, so. I think that's it. And in the meantime, if you have any questions, the email, don't wait till the meeting, if there's anything you see, whatever, you get a chance to look it over a little more carefully, so, we should be able to tweak things by the next meeting. We'll let you know. I'll let you know if there's anything that changes significantly. Like I said, the electricity costs and the chemical costs are a couple. I'll keep it an eye on for this year. That's pretty much it.
Thank you. Just one quick thing I'd like to bring up. We had a water main break, last weekend or 2 weekends ago?
Yeah, a few weeks ago, we had a couple of them out here on Academy and.
Yeah. So just, a part of what the whole city is aware of, right? The road conditions. How do we work together so that, and I know it's an emergency situation, you got to get in there, we get traffic and all that, but when that was filled back in and paved, it's like a jump.
Yeah.
It's like a roller coaster.
Yeah.
How do we get better so that when we fix that and put blacktop on it, it's relatively flat?
That was just a temporary repair we did just to get it through the winter. Usually we have snow now, so we just want to get it done, but basically a lot of the road was heaved. Having said that, we're going to be going into that. We could look at cutting out more of it and fixing it, once it settles down, because we want to see how much, when that thing went, there was a lot of disruption or the heaving of the road,
Yes.
so
Yeah,
it was
it
bad. So yeah, we can look at repairing that. Having said that, like I said, we're going to start, on Boulder Drive, and right up into Main Street here at this intersection, work paving there. But we'll look at that, once it's probably settled down in May, and if it hasn't settled down anymore, we'll cut out some more of it and repave it. But once we're done with, we'll talk about Main Street in a minute, but once we're done Boulder, we're going to mill and overlay, except for the streets between Main and Boulder, because they're going in and doing some additional work. So we're actually going to be ripping up new pavement to do the Boulder Drive, where they did all the two-way. Having said that, we needed the two-way to facilitate these main projects, and the only way to do that was reconfigure it as intersections. So I'm sure people are going to be upset when they see that, but there's a plan in place. Some people may not like it, but like I said, now we have the ability to direct traffic down Main Street, keeping off Boulder as much as possible, so we can move along with the project. But we're going to rip up all of Boulder, and then once we're done, we plan to mill and overlay. We're not going to do a full reclamation because there's other work that needs to be done, but at least get it back to what it looks like now or better. So Main Street is going to do that. Water main project is going to do the whole Upper Common, and I think. Do you have any work in the Upper Common area that you have to do? It's part of that.
I don't know.
Yeah,
You do
I'll
some,
double
yeah.
check, but
Yeah.
we're tearing up the whole Upper Common, including that section that broke is going to be replaced. So we're going to, once we're done and they're done, that's going to be all repaved too.
Right.
So, and hopefully, Unitel's going to be out of there, we're going to be out of there, they're going to be out of there, and once it's paved, it
I
should be.
think it's part of our SRF 32 project.
Yeah, that's what I
to
thought.
repave it all.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, once that's done, it's all going to be paved. In the meantime, there's going to be a mess, and we're going to be taking up some new pavement that was done a couple of years ago. Of course, we're going to mill and overlay later on, but it's there's a plan in place to finish all of Main Street. So, and Boulder Drive, of course. So
Water main breaks in particular are tough because it really fluffs up the
yeah,
underneath the pavement. So you don't really know the extent of the damage until you've had a couple of months of settlement to occur. So really, it's best to not go crazy with the pavement right off the bat. Obviously, we don't want to do a terrible job of paving. We want to get it as nice as possible, but it's going to settle over the next couple of months. So you really want to wait to do a permanent repair until that's occurred. Water main projects aside, like let's say this happened in somewhere else in the city, the standard practice would be to do as good of a temporary patch as possible, let it sit for a couple of months, then come back in and either do a saw cut, full depth reclamation, or mill it out and overlay it. So I'm thinking back to a break we had on Lunenburg Street over in front of Slattery's a couple of years ago. That's exactly what we did there, temporary patch, let it settle out, and then we had PJ Albert come in and do a mill and overlay. Same down on Franklin Road, over kind of near Park Hill Plaza. Had a main break over there, fluffed up the pavement. we let it settle for a little bit, and then had PJ Albert come in and do a mill and overlay there too.
I believe that we'll be able to cut out the sections that are heaved up once we see the extent of it, because beyond where it heaved, it may be settlement too, you know what I mean? So we may have to take out that too. I mean, we got the hump, but then over here, there's a void. So once we see that in the spring, you know, our goal at the time, I mean, it's winter months, we were fortunate we were able to pave it and not just throw coal patch in there, because coal patch just won't hold up. We were glad that we cut out what we could. We just wanted to get it paved, and you know, we didn't know what the rest of the winter would bring. We just wanted to make sure that it held up rather than having, you know, potholes there the whole time. Yeah, we got a little unevenness, but I'm happy how it's holding up, because if we had put coal patch in, we would have been maintaining it all winter, and it would have been falling apart completely. So, but yeah, once in the spring, you know, we'll look at that. I don't think we need to do a mill and overlay in this section, because we're going to go and tear everything. But I think we can cut out those sections that are heaved, look for any low spots, and then, you know, our guys are pretty good at getting that paved. So, and it's not a high-speed location. I think they can get it, you know, so that everybody's fine with it until we really rip it up, you know, next year and demolish everything up there.
There was also an electric manhole that got damaged by the break, and that's just been paved over for now, and that'll be fixed, I believe, by Unit 2.
Anything else on the budget at all? So, yeah, if there's any questions in the meantime, feel free to email. We'll look for a vote at the next meeting, so hopefully that gives you enough time to look it over. So, the next item on the list, of course, we got the Bulger's Eye project. We had the pre-construction meeting on Monday, and we're going to be starting that, you know, by April sometime. The contractor's going to be doing that. We actually need to go out to bid for the Main Street, the rest of the Main Street project, but the ARPA funds that we have will only get us to, it's not Pritchard, it's
Putnam Street.
Putnam. I will say Pritchard, but will only get us to Putnam Street, unfortunately, with the prices nowadays. So we had hoped it would get us all the way down to North Street. So we don't believe there's any more money out there available for it. So, you know, we just want to run this by you before we make any decision, just what your thoughts are. We hate to not do all of Main Street. They plan on some improvements at Moran Square, and our hope was to get down to there, actually. There's some work that needs to be done there, but we'd like to just get the whole downtown area done. But that leaves us about still $4 million short with the ARPA monies we have. We can borrow the money, the water division can borrow the money, but unless we had another rate increase, which we really don't want to do, we may have to forego some other work, you know, next couple of years as far as water main replacement. Instead of doing other streets, finish up Main Street. So our thinking is to go ahead with that borrowing. We got to meet with the mayor and just do that and just see if she was able to find any money, because she said she was going to look for some, you know, an earmark or something like that. But I'd just like to get it all done, you know, for the city, not just for us, you know. Then when it's all paved all through there, then it'll be done. If we bring it just to Putnam Street and then stop there, you know, we got the rest of that. The street's in tough shape. We need to get the water main done. So, of course, they're going to have the bridge project. It's only going to worsen things. But once that's done, if we can get all the way down there, then, you know, all the Main Street's done. We got the bridges on Water Street completed in between. I mean, it's going to be messy years, but all the underground infrastructure and bridges, of course, which DOT's doing, but should be in good shape. So that's kind of the way our thinking is. But that kind of changed was what my capital plan was. You know, the next couple of years is just instead of borrowing, you know, in 2 or 3 years for another water main project, we wouldn't borrow for that. We just put it into this and get it done. So I don't know. Anybody have any thoughts on that? So
Any thoughts? I'd sure like to see Main Street. I mean, that's our front door.
yeah.
And, you know, people complain about what the city looks like. The entrance, you know, that's the entrance to who we are.
Yeah.
It's important to do the side streets and the mains that are 100 years old, but Main Street looks 100 years old sometimes.
Yeah, for sure.
And the bridge is going to start, what, next year? That's a
year,
state
yeah.
project, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, 2025, both
they're-
Water Street bridges. River Street is starting this year, likely in May.
And then we have some of the water mains being done between the bridges as part of that project. We have to contribute money toward that, which was included in that. But then, you know, like I said, Boulder Drive will be it'll be done from the upper common, all around the upper common, all the way down to Moran Square, you know, and then over the bridges, along Water Street to the other side of the Natural River. We still got the rest of Water Street, but I mean, that's a lot of the downtown area as far as water mains, you know. I also want to add is that we're putting out stubs for buildings too. We've been sending out, I would like to get better response, but we're sending another round of letters to building owners if they have any plans for the buildings. You know, do they need a larger water service size? What do they need for fire protection? I'm hoping that more of them reach out to us. I mean, we've been trying to get them to respond, but putting stubs out to the building, so if somebody's doing a building, they don't have to worry about tearing up the street. You know, let's get the stub out to the building where they'd like it in the basement, you know, valved off and stuff, so that, you know, they need sprinkler protection out to the building. Well, now they, you know, have to only worry about, you know, what's within the building itself, and we don't have to worry about getting the road done, all paved, sidewalks all done. Hey, I need a sprinkler connection for this building. It's like, we've tried to cover all that, and that's added some expense to the project, you know, covering all this stuff, rather than just going through and doing the water mains and connecting what's there and fixing what's there. We want to make sure that, you know, we expand and improve it so that everybody has a connection, so that we don't have to worry about it down the road. So, and that does add money, you know, when you're upgrading the service to every single building and not just tying it in. Yeah, it's copper from 1980, so that's good enough. It's like, no, we want to replace it all, so we don't want to leak, and we want to make sure they have something that's adequately sized to serve whatever they need in that building. So that kind of, you know, I'll still have to come back for the borrowing after we meet with the mayor and just get your approval. But I just, you know, it's something that's come up, you know, in the last couple of weeks. You know, they took the numbers from Boulder Drive and ran them through, you know, what the rest of the ARPA money would do on Main Street. And that's where they came up to, it would get us to Putnam. So
you can fund it with this budget?
Yep. Just we wouldn't be borrowing in 2 or 3 years for other water main projects, you know. It'd get this one all done, so. Sound good, or?
Any other thoughts?
And the only other consideration is that 2 of those future water main projects that we were hoping to get done were Airport Road and Electric Ave between the roundabout and South Street. We were kind of holding off on paving until those water main projects happened. So this changes our approach to that paving operation. So we're going to look at costs to just maintain status quo with pothole patching, insurance claims, et cetera, versus what it would take to just do a mill and fill, similar to what we did on Kimball Street, because Kimball Street had deteriorated to the point that we just couldn't patch it anymore. It needed to be redone.
And if if they do a mill and fill, we'll look at the water and see if there's, you know, an old iron pipe surface that needs to be replaced or something like that. So
Right.
And we don't have a break history down there, so I think we'll be all right. But, you know, if we look at anything that needs to be replaced, or, you know, if there's a service to a building the building's, you know, gone or and abandon that service. So we'd look at that, try to minimize our risk. But it'd be nice to get those paved. But like I said, that's the type of thing you might put off because it's just going to eat up all the money to finish this project here. So there's a downside to it, but.
Right. So we'll have to move forward with paving despite not being able to do those water main improvements. And once we do that mill and fill, you know, the road's going to be in decent shape. That means we'll probably wait a little bit longer than we normally would have for those water main replacements, unless there's a major break or another issue that comes up.
And if there is, we had it on River Street afterwards. I mean, there was a break there, and we went in we had PJ Albert going and mill it all, and, you know, I don't think he even noticed it's there now. You know, before it was just new pavement, you could kind of tell, but I think that's held up pretty good, and
Yeah.
you know, a smooth transition. So if something like that did happen, we'd do the same thing, mill that area where the break was, and, you know, repave it. So.
But we're basically caught between a failing road and an old water main.
Which is a lot of the cases around. But like I said, we've been playing going back and forth. I mean, we should just go to there. But it's like, yeah, let's get this whole thing done. And we like to, you know, I think it's a pretty big decision because it changes, you know, kind of what the capital plan is. We had really hoped the ARPA money would have carried all the way through, but just everything's so expensive, you know. we talk about pay and benefits, some of the pay that those, you know, on the prevailing wage jobs, I mean, you know, guy with a shovel is getting $80 an hour, so, you know, it's crazy.
Well, thank you, gentlemen, for what you do with what you've got available.
Nice way to put it.
And yeah, the last thing I have is just the overtime transfer, where you have to transfer about $70,000 for overtime when I go to city council. I got to submit the paperwork, but I'll just get us through the rest of the year. Like I said, between the water main breaks coming on Sundays, you know, Saturday nights into Sunday, and holidays, you know, it's just been pretty tough on that side. You know, sometimes we'll have, you know, $10,000 of overtime over a couple days because of water main breaks. It adds up when they work, you know, 12, whatever, 16 hours. So, and like I said, the SCADA project, a lot of that stuff has been carrying through longer day as they're working on things. And then there's a glitch with the programming, and that's kind of quieted down right now. We've kind of got all that resolved, but there's the equipment in the plants, which they kind of knew there would be an issue, but the equipment in the plants is old, you know, it's older equipment. So getting that stuff to talk together, you know, sometimes the first time they program things, it doesn't talk quite as, like you have something with a computer or something. So it would cause a call in, or then have to stay late to nurse something to make sure it is operating correctly, because we can't let, I mean, you know, anything go out of that plant. I mean, it just, you know, we don't have violations. We don't want violations, but, you know, anything that went over a higher turbidity or low chlorine, I mean, none of that, you know, is allowed to happen. So, so we need to make sure that all the equipment is doing what it's supposed to be doing. So, and metering pumps, analytical equipment, it's just, there's a lot to it. So making that all work. So the Fluid plant's been back online for a few weeks now, and those, you know, those gremlins have pretty much gone, you know, so we're happy with that. So, next step is the regional plant coming up in April and May. So we're still waiting for those final sets of cards to come back from being redone. But
are you looking for a motion on the?
No, I mean, you know, I'm just the overtime is just a regular, you know, thing that we do just to move money from one account to another within the budget. We don't take it from retained earnings or anything. That would.
So it's part of the budget.
Yeah, just moving money within a budget. So,
Okay.
But I just want to keep you informed what's going on, you know, so that when you see it. So.
Want a motion on the budget for water separate?
No, that's the budget. We're going to vote on that next month.
Okay, we're not doing,
Yeah, no, we wanted to give you a month to look at it all. So.
that's great.
Remember, you complained last year. We gave you a short time. Remember?
Never complain, just a recommendation.
Yeah. No, I wanted to give you plenty of time, because last year was
Last year,
because we were doing the water and sewer rate study, and everything was pushed to the end, and then we had to approve everything quickly and get it through council. We didn't want to do that to you this year. We wanted to give you plenty of time, so we figured we'd present it and then ask for a vote for next month and give you a plan.
And, you know, as Mark had mentioned, see what you can do with the schedule to see if we can
Yeah, no, I can look at that. So
work with us a little on that.
Yeah.
You know?
I'd really like to get down to 4 hours at regional. That would help a lot. So.
I just want to be mindful of time. I have a hard stop at 6:30.
What's that?
I have a hard stop at 6:30. I know we have
Oh, yeah, 6:30.
I know we have a quorum. I think if I don't.
Yeah.
if I leave.
Okay. Yeah, so we need to get this moving along.
Good discussion, though.
Yes, thank you.
Hopefully it helps you understand a little bit more and stuff.
Mark, water.
Wastewater.
Let's go.
What time do we have to be out?
Well,
I have a hard stop in 30 minutes.
Okay. I shouldn't take that long.
yeah, I got
What I'll do is
I have
I'll
a
put the
6:30
budget.
appointment also, but I can be late for that.
Okay. Well, we're going to vote on the wastewater budget next month, so I'm going to put it at the end of what I have. So
Okay.
if we have any questions that you see right offhand, we can answer them. If we don't get to it, just bring them up next month, and we'll go through it in detail.
Okay.
Okay. The first item I have past the budget, other than the budget, is like John, is overtime. We are going through a lot of overtime. And for us, it's due to vacancies. We've had a senior operator vacant since the beginning of this budget year, this fiscal year. It was one of our oldest senior operators who retired last June, and we've been filling his vacancy with overtime since July. It is a position that is mandated. We have to fill every shift that he was on. The problem is we can't find operators or senior operators with the proper license to replace them. We've had a couple of applicants that had the license, but when we reached out to them and talked to them about the position, they pulled back and withdrew their application because of the rotating shifts. They just didn't want to do them. So we're looking at options on what we can do. I've been working with the local union down there to see what we can do about limiting the overtime, because it looks like it's going to be a while before we can actually find an applicant unless one drops in on us. We've gone through some proposals about having a real entailed and detailed training program down the treatment plant for the existing operators and see if we can do some hands-on mentoring to these people to, get them licensed able. It's a tough test. The last exam was only 18% passing rate, so it's a hard test. So we're working with them. In addition to a senior operator being off, we have an operator who's been on workman's comp since December. He's being reevaluated at the end of this month. We're hoping he comes back in April, and that will help out on the overtime. But since we've been filling these two positions with overtime, we're going to need almost the same amount of money that John's been asking, about 80 grand. So same thing, we're going to look at retained earnings, but we have to bring it before the city council for approval. And also to help alleviate this, I've been reaching out to some of our on-call engineering firms about possibly looking to see what it'd take to automate the treatment plant, because we staff the plant 7 days a week around the clock. It may be possible for us to not do that. If we can automate a lot of the systems, most treatment plants in this area, they're 7 to 3, Monday through Friday with weekend lab tests and such. We may be able to do that, we may not. I have to do a study at the plant to see if that's possible. And so I got quotes coming back to me right now. I got one back the other day. It was a lot cheaper than I thought it would be. So it looks like we'll do a study next fiscal year, and if it's possible, we may be able to lower the hours down at the treatment plant. But it's kind of early to tell if that's going to be possible or not. Yeah, that's all I have. Any questions on the overtime? I mean, I've been bringing it up monthly about how hard it is to find licensed operators, but it's we're not the only ones. Every treatment plant's having the problem. Yeah. We're trying to steal one from somebody, but they're not willing. Also, the rain barrel program is starting back up. We just got the okay to go ahead, and so wastewater with the Conservation Commission and the Stormwater Division, we're offering the rain barrel program again. The last date of order is May 26th. The picking up of the barrels will be on June 8th down at the East Plant. We will be setting up a display at City Hall. And we've reached out to the mayor's office, and she'll be doing some social media outreach for this, and maybe we'll get better response than we got last year. We got 41 barrels last year. It was the lowest ones we've had, but.
What's the expense of those?
They're regularly $89. The city is offering a $40 coupon, so $39. No, $49. I'm sorry, math is off. Yeah, so it's almost half price, almost. So a lot of people take care of it, take advantage of it. We'll see what happens.
How many gallon?
55. Yep. There's various colors that you can choose from. Lab control room upgrade. Reporting that the construction on that is scheduled to begin the end of April, beginning of May. It's going to take a little bit longer than what we thought because some of the parts are delayed. This is the project where we're renovating the lab, the locker rooms, and the last two remaining clarifiers on the treatment plant. The parts for the clarifiers, they're not going to arrive until November. And so everything's getting pushed about 4 or 5 months past the estimated due date. Other than that, it's going pretty good. CSO 10, that's the Upper Main Street project that they stopped in the fall due to the weather. They're supposed to restart. On the minutes I had, March 18th, that's actually, I should correct that because it got delayed to April 1st. And they're going to be shutting down parts of North Main Street from the Rotary up to the Greek Church during working hours. And so we had to move everything around because we didn't give the neighborhood enough time to, notification that was happening. So we pushed it back a couple of weeks, which may push back the River Street project with the DOT a couple of weeks, but they're okay with it. It's been communicated to them, so they don't have a problem with us. So, and CSO 10 is scheduled to be completed by the end of December. And that's, I believe, all I have other than the budget.
Is there a possibility of, if you're going to be closing that road in a couple of weeks, I mean, it's probably too late now to get signage, road to be closed then?
So, yes, we're supposed to have signage up. I'll check on that.
Yeah. I mean, the city doesn't have one of those programmable ones, so.
No, we don't. We used to have 2 of them. They no longer work, and it's not repairable, so we got to get some more.
Yeah, because some people don't go on social media, and
Yeah,
the road shut down one
last
day.
year had them up.
Yeah, and
then they find their way to social media. So
Right.
this shutdown will be Monday through Friday, 7 to 5 p.m. So it's not like the previous Main Street shutdown where it was 24/7 through the duration. And this will only be the section essentially between where the Seabow Market is and Caldwell Street. So it's just that little western section of Main Street. It's not the area where it was previously.
it's not a high traffic area then.
Not as high traffic, no.
Okay, all right.
So Main to River Street will still be open and accessible. It's really local traffic through the Greektown area that will need to
not-
detour around with Arlington or Goddard Street or something
Not
like
that bad then.
that. Yep.
Okay.
Yeah, I'll check on the signage. I'll make sure that gets brought up.
DOT's bridge project, they were planning to start mid-April with their detour, so they'll push that back until our work is completed, likely early May.
They're going to close down one lane on the bridge, right?
Yeah, they're going to close down one travel direction on the bridge, so they'll maintain the eastbound direction through the duration of construction. Westbound traffic will need to take Main Street to West Street to Sheldon to River, or Main Street to West Street to Wallace to River, to get to wherever people need to go. Eastbound will be maintained through the bridge.
We're very excited because they're going to take our water main that's in the river bed and move it up onto the bridge at no expense to us, so that's a huge, huge plus. We hate the ones in the rivers because when they go, sometimes you don't know if they're leaking, but they're a lot of work to repair.
Okay. You want to talk about the budget?
Yes, budget. We're doing good. We're doing good.
I appreciate it.
Budget this year compared to last year is very, very similar. The revenue is self-explanatory. It's gone up a little due to the sewer rates. Industrial building went down. That's really a rough guess because that's from the mills. What they're going to give us, and it depends on what they're producing, is what they're going to. So we're estimating that it could go up, from what we're looking at there. Sanitary sewage went down. If you went back to 2020, we were bringing in $1.5 million of revenue through sewage. And that's the septic fees that we charge on the treatment plant. We had to institute a daily limit down there due to the overloading of the plant, and that's caused the revenue to drop. So that's why it's down to $750 right now, half of what it used to do. There's talk down the way of maybe raising the discharge fee that we charge. We haven't changed that septic fee since, I would say, 2008. It's been the same septic rates. So that's something to think about in the future.
Where are they going if they're not going to us?
There's various other treatment plants they can take them. Devon's. You know, that's a treatment plant that was designed back when the Fort Devens was active, and so it's severely oversized for what they're doing right now. They love the extra material that's coming in. The problem is they're only 7 to 3. So if someone's looking to dump someplace, you know, after 3 o'clock, they may be out of luck if we're full for the day. And they'd have to find some other place. I don't know if Leominster's taking anything other than Leominster, but
Have we done it, have we studied what they're charging versus what we're charging?
yeah, I did a study some years ago back when Jeff Morosky was the deputy. It was before COVID, so I can probably do it again. So,
Probably makes
the
sense
rates.
to know.
We were on the low end, and that's why we were getting a lot of septage from far away. I mean, people were bringing septage in from the Cape all the way up to us. You know, there's a reason why they're driving all that way with a tanker truck. And it's, you know, we were the cheapest one. So I'd like to raise the revenue one day. It'd be, you know, it's overdue. So the revenue's almost the same. The expenses, personnel expenses, there's a reflection there for overtime. I had to increase the overtime budget with the anticipation of not being able to fill the senior operator. So just in case I can't fill him, I'm hoping we can, but if we can't, I had to increase the overtime budget up to $280,000. Hopefully we won't use it, but it's better to be safe than have to go back again. All the other increases are due to cost of living or contractual step increases that we've had due to the bargaining agreements. Any questions on the personnel?
Summer help increase?
Yeah, we didn't have any summer help for a long time. The treatment plant likes to get a couple of interns, one for the sewer division and 2 for the wastewater treatment plant. And it's like laborers. We can do, at the treatment plant, they can do a lot of the work that we put off, brush clearing, you know, painting, stuff like that, upkeeping of the plant. With the sewer division, he assists the GIS engineer. And so ideally, it'd be someone that's looking to get into that field, and we can help train somebody. We've done it in the past. Last year, we were too late, I believe, to get it posted, and so we didn't get any applicants. A lot of the college kids are starting to look now for them, so we're trying to get it up.
Yeah, we haven't had summer help for a couple of years, just haven't had anybody, so we usually use them for painting hydrants, so we're hoping to get a few this year because we really, a few years ago, we got them all painted, and it doesn't take long. Damn salt that they put down.
It's nice to get the,
I never miss an opportunity to bug Nick on that.
it's nice to get, you know, people who don't usually get into the wastewater field into it because it exposes them to the field. One of these past laborers actually got a job at the treatment plant. He started off in maintenance, and he became a maintenance, and then he went into the operations, and now he's one of my senior operators. So one of these paid out to help fill one of the vacancies, and we're hoping that this goes that route. It'd be very nice if it did. After personnel, we have expenses. The chemicals, we don't get the chemical costs until next month, the end of this month, beginning of next month. So we get our chemicals through the Merrimack Chemical Consortium, which is a group of wastewater treatment plants and water plants in this whole New England area, who group our buying ability together so we get a cheap price. He estimated that to be safe, increase your budgets by 5%. He says there's no indication they're going to jump higher than that. There's a good chance they could go down too. So that's what I did. I increased them by 5% on the safe side. The usage has been relatively the same for the last couple of years. We haven't gone up with gallonage. The disposal fee for sludge has remained the same for the last few years.
Does that increase with what we take in from customers?
This is the disposal fee for the sludge. This is what we produce at the plant. So this is the sludge removal after we dewater it and it's brought to the landfill. It has gone down since we've limited septage, because septage would contribute to an increase in solids, which would increase your wasting, which would increase dewatering time. So it has shown a little bit of reflection there. The problem is the cost of hauling with our last contract skyrocketed. You know, during COVID, the trucking fees went through the roof. They couldn't find truckers or whatever, but we put it out to bid. We had one bidder. He was our sole bidder. We were able to negotiate a little down from what he actually bid, but we settled with what we have here. Now, if we ever get the anaerobic digester up and running that we're trying to do, that line item would disappear. So, along with some of the chemicals. Architectural and engineering line item went up a little. A lot of that items were for studies we have to do in order to do the SRF loans that are coming up. One big item was the separation rehabilitation additional engineering costs for this CSO 32, 45, and 83 project, which is starting up next. So some of that money's gone for that. We're doing some analysis in a force main evaluation over in West Fitchburg that has to get done. If we want to get this anaerobic digester up and running, this whole area is going to have to be looked at to see if it can take the flow.
What was the additional request for the mayor requested the additional?
What's that?
I see the mayor requested an additional, what, 122,000? On that, the architectural and engineering?
Yeah, and I have to see what that is referring to. Yeah, I'll have to see what that's reflected to.
I think that might just be a typo.
Yeah, it could be just a carryover.
We're not sure what the mayor's budget's going to look like yet. That'll be after it gets put forth to city council.
Okay, so these, all right, so this hasn't gone to the mayor yet?
Correct.
Okay.
I think that 122,
okay.
that might be left over from last year or just carried through, but I think that should probably zero.
I'll look at that, though. If that's a typo, I'll get it off.
We're getting close to the clock.
Yes. So it's,
But just one quick question.
Yes.
This number is tremendous for engineering. So when will we be done with the CSO engineering?
We have CSO 30. The next big one is the one that's coming up. You know, CSO 10 is ongoing. That's ending this year. Then we get into the 2 to 3 year CSO 32, 45, and 83. That's all downtown.
Is this money budgeted for that?
Yes.
So in a year or so, we should see that engineering
Yes.
line item crash.
Yes and no. Specific to that project, the engineering
Yes.
costs would go down. However, there's other combined sewer separation, CSS projects that we need to complete prior to the year 2030. So after we're done in the downtown area, then we're looking at, I believe, 3 or 4 other projects elsewhere in the city in order to meet our goal of separating out the entire system.
They're all consent decree items.
Maybe I'll rephrase my statement. At some point, we'll see that line item.
Yes.
At some point around the year 2028, 2029, we'll see that drop off, because that's when theoretically all the engineering work should be done and the last little bit of construction work will be required. But after we finish all that combined sewer separation work, we also need to do post-construction monitoring, and that'll be lumped into the architecture engineering, because that's an engineering function.
Do we have to do a study to do that, or can we just do it?
I mean, it in and of itself is a study, so, yeah.
I'll say the two words, consent decree.
The EPA loves to require us to do studies
Yes.
So we can
that
do
we
a
give
study.
them, and then it sits on their desk and doesn't get reviewed. But it's to check a box, essentially. That's kind of what we're looking at.
No
Thank
comment.
you.
And the last page I have is the page 4. John went over how we do the fringe benefits. You know, that comes from the city. Debt service is also coming from the city. They give us the numbers that we have to pay for the loans that we've taken out. And then the capital expenses. It's gone down from last year, the capitals, so, but they're all geared towards consent decree items that we are required to do.
Why has the combined sewer separation gone down so far? We're 365 to 65.
Oh, the combination manhole sewer separation,
Right.
because we already have 365,800 already there. We haven't spent all of it yet, but we're expecting to use that money plus the 65,000 that's in fiscal year 25 requested, and that's going to take care of a lot of the combination manholes that we still have. So we've got 100 of them.
The 365 projected is not actually being spent in '24?
Most likely not, not all of it. So that's why we added in 65 just in case we don't spend it all. Or actually, if we spend it, but it goes a little bit over. Because we're finding out material is going through the roof right now. That's why CSO 32, we had to go for that extra money for it, the 39.5 million, is because of the cost of material. And the biggest item is that 666. And that's the SRF ineligible construction costs for that whole CSO 32 project. In order to qualify for the loan, we have to have this in our budget to take care of all the stuff that's not going to be covered by the loan. The APC stack removal at the East Plant, we may or may not spend that money this year. There is the old incinerator. There's a big blue stack that's still down there that's sticking out of the building. The base is starting to rot. And so it's still being supported by all the support pieces in the roof, but we're going to have to remove it before it falls. So that's a safety issue. And Fournier parts, that's for the repair, basic repair parts for the dewatering equipment down there. That dewaters the sludge that gets brought to the landfill. That also be removed if we ever get the anaerobic digester up and running. So, yes.
Running out of time, so can we just,
Yeah.
are we close and then we can pick up the rest of the budget
Next month.
next month?
Yes.
Because we got through most of it, right?
Yeah.
Next month, could we change the date? I have something on the 17th, if that's all right. Do it the second week, maybe, or the first week.
Yeah, we can figure it
Wednesday,
out.
is that?
We'll have to figure out when
for
the,
everybody?
Can we do a doodle, you know how to, a doodle to see who's available?
Yeah, we'll have to check what's available.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's,
Okay.
can we do that quick?
Yeah, I'll send
Next
something out
couple,
tomorrow. I'll
next week?
check and see if it's available or what dates are available for us to come.
Yeah, the first or
Does
second
does anyone
Wednesday.
prefer like the second Tuesday or
I'm good either.
When-
a different time?
Same time, yeah.
Tuesday? I have zoning, so
Oh, okay,
Wednesday, no, keep
Yeah,
it-
Wednesday works.
we'll keep it Wednesday.
Yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
just tell me when to be there.
All right, I'll see.
okay.
I'll do it first thing in the morning.
Yeah, we'll have to check in to see the availability here.
That's what, yeah, that's
little
what
more
I'm saying. I don't
Okay,
know what's
thanks, Colby.
available
Thank you.
here or not.
Might need to move over to the north.
thank you.
Okay,
Night.
okay.
Figure it out.
I'll check with,
Anything else that we need to deal with tonight? Okay.
Have the schedule.
Is there any other business? Okay, if not, that concludes our agenda. I'll entertain a motion to adjourn.
Make the motion to adjourn.
Second.
We are adjourned. Thank you.